Hello, dear viewer. So it's not a Bar Ram Woo production unless there is some significant technical issues. And at this very point in the proceedings, I notice that I am streaming this game rather than just recording this game. Just not meant to be doing that, just meant to be recording it. So I stop the stream. What I don't realise is that also stops the recording. Real shame, because this game turned out to be possibly one of the sort of the most tense games of the tournament that I played in. So I thought I would just sort of jump in at this point and go through the rest of this what turns out to be like a fairly epic match. So I believe we've just had this turn where my opponent, Freedan, puts an ice wall on server 1. I don't know that at this point. They put a piece of ice on R&D, and they install something in the root of the server, which turns out to be a virus, I believe. I draw some cards with Steel Skin, and I decide that I'm going to go and trash this Marilyn. Realise that actually I want to raindrops for Marilyn, so I raindrops the Marilyn to trash it with the Imp. And then I'm going to have at least one counter, which means I can threaten their server with the Audrey and at least force them to spend some more money, even if I can't get in. They put them a virus, get out a Marilyn campaign. I don't have enough money to trash it at that point, so I decide to install the Simmel chip, reset my Imp, go and trash their fresh Marilyn campaign, and get my Audrey back up and rolling again. Really interestingly, my opponent didn't extract last turn, but maybe they didn't have a good one cost. I'm assuming that like probably their value one costs are mostly already out. They've just installed an ice wall somewhere here. That might have been one of them. But here they do extract, which bumps them back up to money. And I've been trying to keep Freedan pretty poor, putting on lots of pressure so far this game. Because if they can't resolve their ice, then I can get Central's accesses. They install an SDS and advance it once. Pretty safe in the knowledge that they've got a slash and burn here that they could deal with that with. I install a leech. Very, very valuable part of the rig. We're going to run HQ, force an ice res, or get in here and get some counters. I see a sandstone. I decide to bounce and force the res on R&D, which turns out to be a border control. Now, what I don't want here is them to pop this border control and go and get a virus, which could be sort of pretty bad. But I am quite happy that they're down on only 2 credits. It means that if they're scoring out this agenda, at best it's probably a 3-2. I'm going to imp this Horton because that could become a problem. And they're on 2 credits, so I'm pretty sure I can now just run this server and get in because there's no ice for 2 credits or less that I can't get through. Ice Wall is exactly that, ice. I only have 1 counter on Audrey. But I am happy at this point because they are on 1 credit now. And so I'm pretty safe in the knowledge that at very worst, like they could maybe seamless out and Atlas without a counter, or they can click for a credit and advance twice. Again, like basically there's, I guess they could click for a credit, seamless, advance, get an Atlas with a counter. Maybe that would be a problem, but I'm pretty sure that this isn't going to be an issue. The turn that actually happens is kind of nuts, because they play a seamless, click for credit, and slash and burn to score out an SDS from 1 credit, which is kind of nuts. They did have one counter on it already, but still feels pretty gross, and they get rid of my Audrey, which is definitely going to be a problem at this point. Yep, you can see down here, I am pretty disgusted by this. And also at this point now, they can win at any point, pretty much. Like, I know the deck's going to be running Audacity. I know it's got other fast advanced tricks. At the moment, they can even just jam in this server a free 2, and as long as they've got a couple of credits, then they can get in. They are completely destitute, which is great for now, but any minute now, I could lose this game. I don't have a clot in the bin currently, and I don't have a simul. Oh, I do have a clot in the bin, but I don't have a simul chip on board, so I don't have any way of getting clot lock. And I need to find my simul chips stat, because otherwise I'm just not. I'm going to get locked out here. So I'm in a very, very hairy position. We're both on 0 credits, which remains quite close to that for the rest of the game. So I click up, install I play a strike fund, install a cleaver, and then I'm going to run HQ here using the leech, breaking for 1 credit, getting through to get an access. I've still got my imp, which is really, really good because it will allow me to trash audacities if I find them. I see a Rashida, I imp it. That's their way of kind of bouncing back next turn. 3 down draws a Marilyn. They got Marilyn wall to wall here. They install the wall to wall and take 2 credits. I think it's pretty much exactly what I would have done in that situation. Here I am thinking about buffer driving, and I do. So let's just stop this for a second, because so at this point I feel like I'm really far behind, and all I need right now is tempo. If this turns out to be an Atlas or just any free 2, and they have a seamless launch or they have an Audacity, then I lose next turn. And it very well could be. Like, the remote is safer than HQ right now, so I would be putting any agendas which were here. So at this point I decide to remove my buffer drive from game to put a moshing on the top of my deck. That means that I'm going to draw it with Hoshiko, and that is probably my only way of getting some real quick forward tempo. The game's not going to go long enough now for the buffer drive to really be effective for its kind of like extending your cards. Like, I'm not going to need it for that. I just need tempo at this point. So I Hoshiko draw the moshing, which I put on the top of my deck. I'm moshing these 3 cards. None of them are good to me right now. I draw a couple of things here. There is a line where I technically could have got in to this server by botulusing the Ashar and then making a run, spending 1 with Cleaver. But I think I'm pretty much set now on, like, I don't want to, like, I can potentially get in this turn and not lose this turn, but also then if I expend everything on that, then I'm not back in a good place. So I'm going to set up for 1 turn here. I'm going to hope it's not like the win. It's not. So currently fine. They're going to get wall to wall. All of the abilities on it, which is pretty good. They draw a Sphegator, which is great for them. They draw another Extract, which is great for them. Because this is exactly how they can bounce back here. They choose to trash the Ice Wall. Getting a Spin Doctor, finding some more tools. And then I think, I know they put an ice on R&D. I do have a conduit in the bin, so they are probably aware that at any point things could go south from there. Okay, so here I'm pondering my possible lines. I'm just going in for a single here, which is really interesting. I wonder why I'm not raindropsing. Didn't put down the Audrey. There's probably a reason. Okay, yes. So I remember why I did this now. So originally I was going to raindrops into the Afshar first click. I had like 2 credits at the start of a turn. I decided that I didn't want to, like, if I could spend 1 credit first, then I wouldn't lose a credit off the Afshar. So I'm going in to HQ for a single here because I'm going to lose the credit anyway. That way I bring Sandstone down, another strength, I get another leech counter, and I get a single access, which could be something. They did just draw last turn with the Spin Doctor. And this now means that I'm going to just bounce off this Afshar, so I can draw 2 cards, gain 3 credits. I draw a Strike Fund, which is brilliant. I draw my Knobkery, which is really, really good. And I just play the Strike Fund because next turn now I can get back up and rolling. I've got enough money to install Knobkery, Audrey, and start going. They draw into a ton of agendas. So here, SDS, Atlas, and Azif were all drawn this turn. I think 2 off for wall to wall and mandatory, and then 1 first click draw. They're going to extract the wall to wall. They're going to turn that back. One of the plays I'd be considering here is installing the SDS and just extracting the SDS so that it's in the bin. Yeah, I think I called this. I realised that they had no Rashidas left. They had a Spin Doctor out already, so they couldn't really get orb value from this wall-to-wall sale. So they Spin Doctor first. They're going to get another Spin Doctor here so that they can sort out their hand a little bit. And they jam one of the Urbans, I believe, is in that they drew. Throwing out the SDS. Okay, we're like absolutely back up and running here. We get down on Knobkery. We can also afford to get down our Audrey. It comes in with a counter because of Cookbook. We're going to run the server. We get this through this for absolute free with Leech and Audrey, knowing that we're going to be able to imp something and get back in. We imp the Urban Renewal. Oh, we leave the Urban Renewal. Wild. Okay, so we don't care about the Urban Renewal. What we want to find is the Audacity, which we know is in the deck. Or, like, the Urban Renewal doesn't win them the game this next turn. So I think that is why we are leaving it. We see an Atlas and we steal it. We would have been tempted to imp it there, but obviously they have a Spin Doctor out, so we just steal it. Interestingly here, if they purge, then we actually struggle to get in. I guess we botulus this if they purge. Freeland draws a couple of cards and puts another Sandstone in front of HQ, which makes sense. They've got a 3-2 in there. They want to protect that. We're purposely not running R&D currently. Because we don't want them to be able to pop this border control for a Sandstone. Not for a Sandstone, sorry, for a Mavirus. If we don't interact with this border control or this server, then they can't get a Mavirus. So we're going to continue focusing on HQ and just dealing with this remote when we feel like we have to deal with it. We go to clear out the spin doctor, knowing that they'll pop it, they have to pop it. It's absolutely fine. We feel okay here because we can install double chip, which is what we do. So we've now got our clot lock back on. We know that there's no viruses on the table, so we don't have to worry about. And there it is, like the turn that we put these down, Freedan draws into the Audacity. They install. They advance, and we clot. Can't remember what we sell here. I think we sell, yeah, so we sell the Audrey. I think we thought about this for a while. It obviously skipped straight through it. But I realised that we were going to have to bring back the Audrey to challenge this server next turn. I mean, we could Botulus in, but what would be better is if we sell the Audrey for the clot, bring back the Audrey, it comes in with a counter, then we can go and challenge this server, which is what we do. So they can't do anything here, and then they draw last click, drawing into an SDS, throwing out Marilyn. Feel like they're fine on money for the time being. End of their turn, we're going to bring back the Audrey so that we can challenge this remote. So we're going to get in here. For a couple of counters, essentially free. Steal their Aziev. So at this point, we are pretty sure that they have an Audacity in hand. Otherwise, the play here, especially when we see that it is definitely an Aziev. So we're now pretty sure that they have an Audacity in hand. So we're going to want to go and try and clear that out. Because currently we don't have any symbol chips installed, and all of them are in the bin, along with 2 of our laborites, and we've already used our buffer drive. So for us to get plot lock back here, we're going to have to draw into our last copy of laborites, and we still have 20 cards to go in the deck, and we don't have a Lago down, and it would be kind of even risky to use a Lago right now, because if we lose our last laborites, then we're potentially in some trouble. So we challenge HQ. They res this sandstone. We decide that we can go through here. We can Audrey through the first one. We just realised that we'd used a leech counter when it was pointless to use a leech counter. So we're just going to run back, trashing 2 cards from our hand. And we can get through the second sandstone using the cleaver for 1 credit. We trash the buzzsaw here because we do kind of want to get this Lago down if we can at some point. We might not have realised that all of our other laborites were in the bin yet. Important to remember, you cannot install Lago using Paladin credits, which is a real shame because it is a connection. We're going to see a card, we see the Audacity, and we can imp it. So pretty big swing this turn for us. They manually purge, which I think is absolutely correct at this point. It puts the pressure on us to make some moves. We are going to do same play we did before. We don't have enough credits to lose to the Afshar, so we're going to just barrel into it with raindrops to draw 2 cards and gain 2 credits. We're going to mosh here because, again, we want to find our last laborites. I think we probably want to keep the botulus. Yep, we do. We're going to install the botulus on the HQ ice so that we can keep pressuring HQ. Because, again, we kind of don't want to interact with this border control, allowing them to tutor a Motherus. We're going to go through here. Wow, we went through here paying 5. Big spender. But I think we know that the game is in hand on their side if we're not careful. So we have to just keep pushing and keep pressuring. We get in. We see a Rashida, and we imp a Rashida, which was actually incorrect. I should have paid a credit because I'm going to lose that credit, which I saved using the imp to Hoshiko anyway. They overwrite the outside sandstone, which is interesting. I feel like... Oh, right. Okay, so I think they've overwritten the outside sandstone with a magnet, which actually then makes that make sense a little bit more. We're going to challenge this server now, though. This turns out to be border control. So again, at this point, I'm like, I think I might jack out here because they were on 2 credits. I immediately decide I don't think I continue because I don't want them to, again, pop this from Motherus. No, apparently not. Apparently I'm going in. So there we go. I'm clearly feeling like I can get in. I guess I'm probably assuming that I can run HQ if they pop this border control, which they do. They get Motherus. So here possibly the only misplay from Freedan, because I think if they put the Motherus in the server, I don't think we can get in. Maybe they thought they had one more. I assume they thought that they could res this outside ice, with it being a magnet, which would then make it much trickier for us to get through here. But they are a credit short of doing that. But if they put this Motherus in server 1, then we're actually in a lot more trouble. We're going to go through and trash it. Oh, that's what I was. Yeah. So I think here they realised that they should have popped it before we hit the botulus. That's fine. Because they don't want to let us trash something, because otherwise we get an Audrey counter. And if we get an Audrey counter, then we can get in. And then here I'm 1 credit short of doing what I want to do last click, which is to run HQ, to run R&D. I would love to run R&D here, and I'm 1 credit short, which is very frustrating. I click for a credit because I'm going to flip back to Hoshiko. They draw into a 3-2. And they take 3 credits. They know that they can't install stuff out on the table because otherwise we're going to knob curry and start charging up our Audrey again. So here we're going to challenge HQ. We're going to just try and keep the pressure on, keep them poor. They were on 2 credits last time. They couldn't score out. So we're assuming this could be a 3-2 and they don't have a seamless. They res a magnet, which is a shame. Now we have a credit, so we can go into this R&D, and we're kind of hoping that they're just on tumor viruses, which I think are both in the bin. So we don't care too much about this board control pop anymore. Plus, we need a we need a way in somewhere. I think they get a third sandstone, which seems decent. We run the bin just to check what's in there. In case they just keeping them honest, and to get our Hoshiko flip as well. Importantly, and this is like for one time when we can run the bin where we don't have virus counters anyway, so they don't really do anything. And then last click, we're going to install a fermenter. We do actually go over MU here, this botulus. Luckily, this is realized it doesn't have any effect on the game, but because it doesn't tell me that I'm over MU because this blanks the MU part of this card as well. But yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, no, I'm not over MU. I'm fine. Ignore me. Okay. Speaking of which, I need to rewind a tiny bit here because so here, their turn after I install this fermenter, they draw into a seamless launch. So they take 2 credits, and then they put 1 advancement on here, which is a bit scary. I'm not sure what this is, but I'm 100% sure that it is an agenda. I play a steel skin, and I draw into the best bit of or I think I trashed the steel skin using the Audrey here. I love the play that happens here. I need a way of getting an Audrey counter so that I can get in and challenge this remote. But I can't run the bin because there are viruses in there, and I've thrown my buzzsaw away. So the first thing I do is moshing, just to draw in some answers. I'm trying to find my last labour rights, which I do find, and there is plays where here I could just sort of labour rights for 3 simul chips, and I will draw 1 because I will be milling the rest of my stack. Install a simul chip. So that would be moshing, labour rights, install simul chip, run, trashing something, recharging the Audrey, getting in, etc. But I also see a different play that I have available here, which is I pinhole archives. This also gives me additional information as well. This gives me my Knobkery counter for Audrey. I see that the card is an SDS. Obviously, I can't get it with the pinhole, but now I have an Audrey counter. I make sure that I've worked this out correctly, and then I can get in. I can even use the leech counter, which I just gained off the pinhole, to steal the SDS for the win. Super, super tight game, which could have gone either way. I sort of drew into some simul chips at the perfect time. And yeah, this was one that I was absolutely sweating buckets throughout. But a really, really fun game. It went pretty long. I will quickly jump into our second game, which did not go quite as long. So I was up against Lat, which can be a bit scary because Anicam Lat has look at this time bar. This is hilarious. So Anicam Lat can obviously survive quite a lot of damage, like drawing up to 6 at the end of their turn is possible, and you can pretty much never punitive Lat if you're trying to do it with 2 punitives. It's almost never going to happen. They'll have an Anicam down, or they'll have lily pad down, and they'll draw to 6. And if it's an Anicam, then you're going to hit an event and what have you. Anyway, I mulligan into a hand which is basically all agendas. First click is draw. I draw another agenda. Second click is install Spin Doctor and draw. I draw 2 pieces of ice, but I can't afford to res anything that is here. No, that's not true actually, because I'm going to discard a card. So technically, I could afford to res an Atini, but I decided the best play here. I've got a Spin Doctor out, so I feel pretty safe in just dumping a ton of agendas. Oh, I draw again. I draw a snare. So that's fun, and I just decide to dump a ton of agendas into archives. So we've put all of the 5/3s in here. There's a bacterial, and there's 2 Fujis. First click. So I spoke to Freedan about this afterwards, and they were like, I had a ton of money in my hand, so they thought it's probably kind of perfectly safe. They'd also watched Soccer talk about winning it against this deck, and he'd said the best way to win against it is to steal a 5/3 early, which is correct. But one thing that he forgot to mention is that you need to steal that 5/3 from R&D or HQ, not from archives, specifically not a bacterial from archives. So they make this dirty laundry run. I think for a while here on whether I want to feed them bacterial and a Fuji, or whether I want to feed them a single bacterial and then hope to draw into the other Fuji to dump it. Can't remember what I do, so let's find out. I feed them a single bacterial is what I do, which I think is probably correct. Just so that I don't immediately lose off. Like, the single Regenesis in hand is a bit scary. I'm going to draw a ton of cards. I find a second bacterial, so I can dump second bacterial into archives. I've also drawn a ton of cards, so they can't lat draw up to 6, which is really, really important. It's one of the extra disgusting things about bacterial. So here I'm going to draw all the other cards except for any agendas, which I'm going to put 1 piece of ice on the top of R&D, and then any agendas under that. There's a chance that I even put 2 pieces of ice there just in case they were on a cheeky like a Maker's Eye or something along those lines. They draw 2 cards, and last click they dirty laundry HQ, which I think is 100% the correct line. So there are 1, 2, 3 agendas in here, so 3 in 17, which is kind of nuts. Someone do the maths there. But yeah, I think sort of just running to try and win at that point is definitely the best idea. They have 11 credits and a link, but we have drawn into a YDL, which takes us up to 22. So that feels fine. And we play a hand side just to be safe, and we play the punitive. 6 damage. Turn 2. 4 minutes. Nice and short. I think at this point I chat to Freedan, and they were on I believe it was Anicam Lat to start with, but also they were on 3 copies of Stone Chip, and they were looking for their Stone Chips when they were drawing there, which actually would have saved them because I only drew into 1 punitive. So if they could have drawn up to 6 cards, then they would survive. I can't see if I would have like drawn into another punitive, but I probably wouldn't have had the clicks to. I'd have had to spin doctor YDL. Yeah. So yeah, if they could have got 6 cards, then they actually do survive that turn. But yeah, good games versus Freedan. Sorry that I didn't end up actually getting the video stream of it, but I hope this made up for that in some way. Anyway, thank you very much, and go and enjoy the rest of the games.